Now it's time to check out the connecting rods, or actually way past time. We should have done this long ago. But even though you buy rods from somebody and they say they've recently been resized and they look like a fresh resized job, you're not a trusting person and you just have to do it yourself. So you have to clean everything up, torque it down to factory spec with factory lube, and measure the bore of the connecting rod. And you can do that with the whole mic. Then take it back apart and put the bearing in. Now you know the hole is the right size for the bearing. Put the bearing in, but the whole mic is for a round hole, and you know the inside of a bearing is not really round. You know, they come in here, and even though that might work, I don't trust it. So I use the dial bore gauge, and 2.1 thousandths clearance is what it had. So that's wonderful. We're all good. I realize this is a street motor and it does not really need to have the cam degreed, but we do need to find top dead center. And the reason is we've never used this front cover, we've never used this harmonic balancer. We don't know that any of that is right. I mean, we're not buying parts from Mopar anymore. You're either going to be using a cover that you may not know what it came off of, or a new cover. And some of them don't even have pointers on them. You have to degree or find top dead center so you can make your own pointer over on the side. We're changing so many things in today's world because aftermarket and unknown parts. You've heard about harmonic balancers slipping before. I've never had that happen. I don't know anybody that has, I don't think. But that can happen too if you're using a used balancer. Remember, our parts that we're using nowadays are older than they've ever been before. Just because we didn't have them slipping 50 years ago doesn't mean we can't have one slipping today. Maybe we're overdoing this build. Maybe we're going beyond what a street car needs, but it's not costing us anything. We got plenty of time, so give you something to do. So to find top dead center, you get a piston stop, assuming that your pistons are going to be down in the hole. In other words, they don't come above the deck. You can just get a flat piece of metal, any kind of metal, scrap, and strap it across here and stick a bolt in it and tighten it up somehow to use that for a piston stop. And then you come to the degree wheel and you turn it all the way one direction. Right now you pick a number. You bring it up to the positive stop and see what your number is on your wheel. And then you turn it the other direction. Until it hits the stop. Now it won't be in the right spot. So you'll take that number. Let's say it stopped on 40. And this one stopped when you went the other direction on 20. So you add those two together, 40 and 20, and you get 60, and you divide by 2 and put it on 30. Or you move your wheel to 30. And then when you come back the other way, it'll be on 30 again. Now, top dead center is 0. So you'll have to work this a little bit before you catch it just right, but trial and error until you go this way and you get the same number as when you go back the other way. When the numbers are the same, then you know top dead center is in the middle. After you find top dead center, then after we've done through all this work, we might as well degree the cam, right? Just for fun. Do we have to degree the cam? Well, no. This is a street car, and even if it was off 2 degrees, you're not going to be able to feel the power difference between 2 degrees. It's not going to hurt anything. So the old way of slap the cam in and dot to dot and go is totally fine. But we're trying to do a little better here, so we're going to degree the cam since we're already set up to do all this. I took the piston stop off and moved the degree wheel to 0 to bring the piston to top dead center, and measured, because I knew you wanted to know, and it was 75 thousandths down. which sounds a long way down in the hole. But I was surprised when I shopped these replacement pistons and everybody's were 8.4 to 1, which sounds low to you and me, but it's not like when you get those stroker kits, there's several pistons there that you can select from where you can kind of dial in your compression ratio like you want. But if it is 8.4, this will have cast iron heads, so they say you can run 9.5 with today's gasoline. And it's not the end of the world, but we would all like a little more compression, it just makes everything better. So now that we've found top dead center, we want to degree the cam. To degree the cam, you set up a dial indicator on the intake lifter. It's kind of hard to use a regular, you need an extension for one thing to get down there. But I use this flat foot to get down in there close. A regular point on there, you can see how easy it would be for it to slip off in there. That just won't work good. So you need a little flat foot to do this without driving yourself absolutely crazy. And you have to get it very straight. In other words, if it's off like this, or if it's off like this or this, you're going to have cosine error and your numbers aren't going to be exactly right. So you have to get it just straight with the lifter. These lifters are at 45, so you got to come straight up and not this way or this way. So to degree the cam, you get out the cam card that comes with the cam, and because it gives you the information that you need to degree it in. And this is the cam card, but these numbers are all wrong. When I tried to degree it, none of this works. So then it says valve timing at 50. That's how you degree the cam. You use at 50 thousandths tappet lift. Oh, none of those numbers work. So I added these numbers up and it came up to 279 duration, which is the advertised duration, not the real duration, which is 227. They give you the duration at 50 because that's what everybody goes by. So, and then, now some people, to degree a cam, instead of using, some people just look at when the intake opens, but some people just look at the center line of the cam. Well, here's the center line at blank. Now, what is blank? What is a blank intake center line? I don't know what that means. So I called Comp. I eventually got them, and it was an experience. He told me, oh yeah, that new computer program puts the wrong numbers in there. Well, I thought that was kind of special. He says, those are the advertised numbers. And I said, yeah, I added that up, and it turned out to be the advertised numbers. But it says valve timing at 50, so I had problems trying to degree the cam in. He said, yeah, all those numbers are wrong. And I said, and it doesn't have the intake center line. Well, I went to the website and I found that it's 102. So he said, well, if you want to know the valve timing at 50, which you thought was on the cam card, this is what a real Comp cam card looks like. It's got your valve timing at 50. It's got your intake center line with a real number there instead of a blank. It gives you information where you can degree the cam. It even tells you what valve springs to use. If I told you what valve springs they told me to use with this cam when I called the other day, you'd just think I was crazy. He says, you go to Wallet Racing Calculators, and they got a calculator in there, and you can put in, I'm serious, he told me this. He said, you can put in the cam's information, the specs, and it'll tell you what the valve timing is at 50. I'm serious. I called Comp Cams, and they told me that the new computer program puts the wrong numbers in here, and for you to go to Wallace Racing. And he couldn't tell me the right numbers. It's quite an experience. So, let's see what we can do. I turned the motor over, and max lift was 324 lobe lift. So we're going to go 50 thousandths short of that, and then 50 thousandths past that, and divide the two numbers and find out what the cam is installed at. Intake center line. Okay, we're on the base circle. We're going to turn it to get max lift. 100, 200, that's 300. We're looking for max lobe lift. And it is 324, just what they said. Okay, now let's go let's back up. And we're going to go back to minus 50 thousandths lift, which would be 374. Oh boy, it's hard to get a thou, isn't it? Okay, hair over, but we're at 58. Write that down. That's 50 before. Now we're going to have to go to 50 after. 324. Now we're going back down to 74. And we read that number and we get 147. Okay, so that's 205. So it's installed at 102 and a half. And with our modified cam card that has the intake center line on it, we're a half a thou, and that's good enough. Now, if we just wanted to check the opening, let's go all the way back. Now we're back on the base circle. And at 50 thousandths tappet lift, we should be 11.5 degrees before top dead center. So let's go 50 thousandths tappet lift. $50,000. And I've got 11. So we're half off there too. So that's really all there is to degree a cam. We're opening, and we could continue on and check our close if we wanted. But we're degreed in. Now we have to take this off. We have to bring it up the top dead center. Before we take the degree wheel off, because we have to make sure that the front cover we're going to use and the balancer we're going to use is a match, and that what we say is top dead center matches the balancer and the front cover. So the balancer and the front cover pretty much agree. I didn't push it all the way on there just for this. I didn't think that was necessary. Might be a half a degree off or 1 degree, but no, it's pretty close. I think we're good. Well, after all that work, this chain still hasn't loosened up. So I guess all this was for nothing. And I've ordered another one, different brand, and hopefully it'll work.